Hey everybody, this is Francesco Abruzzino with another Rogue Rant. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about socialism and this push for free stuff. And I wanted to do it in comparison with Venezuela and covering essentially what is occurring over there right now in that country. It's chaos. They're out of food. You look at pictures of their hospitals, people are laying in blood in the corner with broken bones. It's a disaster there. And they've had, several years of long lines, rationing, shortages. And this was all for the socialist country. And now they don't have food to feed their population. You're seeing some of the pictures now up on the screen. And this is just the most recent nail in their coffin. This beleaguered country's slow, painful economic collapse has been happening for a couple years. And many people expect an economic collapse to happen instantly and to be shocking and to be dramatic, but it hasn't been in this case. It's been gradual, basically over a couple of years. You look at the empty shelves, the long lines, the desperate government officials trying to cover things up, the hungry people, the riots. I've been following Venezuela for the last few years, and it's shocking to see how these events have unfolded. As Americans, we feel that our country would be better served by a socialist, or a lot of people do. I don't. But government would be wise to take note of what is happening over there in Venezuela. And pay attention. Heed attention. Heed warning. Back in 2013, when they began to change the outlook on Venezuela, it began to look grim. They had prepping was not considered illegal. There was a shortage in grocery lines. They instituted the fingerprinting, remember that, to register for purchases of food. That was rationed, and people were trying to hoard it, so they wanted to take that away. About a year ago, it became more apparent that the country was failing when they started seeing long lines for just your basic necessities. And as it devolved, the farmers had to give up their farms, and the usual stuff that you see as a country is trying to get out of this mess that they're in. And unfortunately, it looks like the socialist measures and forced food production haven't been enough to keep the people of Venezuela fed. The country is in terrible trouble, and they're trying to cover it up, the government, with propaganda that they're pushing out. An entire country is collapsing before our eyes, with all these shortages that you can imagine, including foods, toiletries, medicine, electricity, health. Even Coca-Cola stopped producing there. Like I said, standing in extreme lines for 5 to 6 hours hoping to get food for your kids. Full-blown riots are breaking out. And this is what we see when debt spirals out of control. When currency manipulation goes too far and the government interferes too much at ridiculous extremes. This is what happens to an economy. And you can see it with the basic supplies that are a bit short on 85% of Venezuela's companies have halted production. They talk about stories where people can, this one lady, there's this article out, and I think I just posted it today, where they talk about a lady. She used to go out and be able to buy chicken and stuff. She hasn't been able to do that for a couple years, and now she's surviving on meager allowance and can barely feed her family. This is socialism. You want the free stuff, this is what you get. And many folks out there believe that the social government is exactly what the country needs, exactly what Americans need. They're eager to lap up there for promises of free education, free health care, Obamacare. They embrace any presidential candidate who is an unabashed socialist. And it astonishes me to no level when you see stuff like this happening in Venezuela. And they'd all be well advised to pay attention to how well the freebies have worked out for countries like Venezuela. Socialism isn't sustainable. It's not a good economic model. And it's been proven time and time again, much to the detriment of the victims, which is the society, the residents, and they're the ones suffering. The big game pieces, they're already lined up to control us, the American people, should an economic situation like Venezuela occur here. There's already laws in place to prevent hoarding. Remember a few years ago, Obama, one of his many executive orders, He gave the federal government authority to on over every resource. He basically has the authority over every resource that's out there, every infrastructure element in the United States. And why? I mean, there's a lot of uncomfortable parallels that are out there that can be drawn between America's financial disaster and what we're seeing in Venezuela. And it's one thing. One thing is clear. Self-sufficiency is the only way to protect your family. Even if you haven't begun to prepare, try something. Build a pantry. Stock up on food. Stock up on water. Emergency supply. It wouldn't hurt you to be safe rather than sorry. Because when this happens, people become desperate. They behave differently. They don't behave like they would in normal circumstances. And when this type of economic disaster strikes, one thing you can count on from the government is that they will start prioritizing. And guess what? You and your family will not be at the top of their list. In a situation like Venezuela, you will completely be on your own, if best. At worst, your supplies will be targeted for the greater good of the community. Maintain your freedom by becoming quietly self-sufficient. This has been Francesco Abbruzzino with another Rogue Rant.